students, so today's topic is change the voice. So we look at two types of voices. Okay, the first one is active voice and the second one is passive voice. Alright, so how do we distinguish between active voice and passive voice? If there is no by in the sentence, it is active, and if there is a by in the sentence, it is passive. Okay, now let us try out a sentence. India won the World Cup by defeating Sri Lanka. So now as we see the word by here, alright, we know that this is passive voice, right? India won the World Cup by defeating Sri Lanka. So the answer is passive voice. But students, you really need to remember that this theory, alright, the way you identify active and passive, this is a huge misconception and this theory is absolutely wrong. Okay, it is incorrect. You do not use this theory that if there is a by in the sentence, it is passive, if there is no by, it is active. Okay, I know it sounds that way. When we say Ram writes a letter, there is no by, so it is active. A letter is written by Ram, it sounds like that, so it is passive. But students, please do not go by this rule. This is a misconception. Alright, sometimes you might get the correct answer, but in times such as this sentence, this answer is completely incorrect. It is wrong. Okay, Ram writes a letter. Alright, how do we know? Now, we already know that this is active, but let's see what are the technicalities of it. How do we identify? Okay, first of all, students, you need to identify the subject of the sentence. Now, what is the subject of the sentence? The person or the place or thing that you are talking about. Whom are we talking about over here? Obviously, we are talking about Ram. So, Ram is the subject of the sentence. Then you need to identify the action word or the verb. Okay, the action. What is the action? It is writes. So, after you have identified the subject as Ram and writes as the action, what do we need to do? We need to ask ourselves a question. And what is that question? Let's see. Is the subject the doer of the action? What is the meaning of this? Is the subject, means is Ram the doer of this action writes? Is Ram doing the action? Is Ram writing? Yes, the answer is yes. If I say Ram writes a letter, you need to identify the subject, you need to identify the action, then ask yourself a question. Is the subject the doer of the action? Is Ram doing the action here? What is your answer? It is yes. If your answer is yes to this question, is the subject is the doer of the action? If you answer yes to this question, that means it is always active voice. Okay, so this is how you identify, this is how you distinguish between active voice and passive voice. Please do not use that by theory. Okay. Now let's see. A letter is written by Ram. Which is the subject of the sentence here, students? What are we talking about? Yes, we are talking about the letter. A letter is the subject of the sentence. And which is the action? It is written. That is the action. Now children, just ask yourself the same question. What is that question? Is the subject the doer of the action? Is the subject doing this action? Is the letter writing something? Is the letter a living thing? The letter, is it going and writing something, or is Ram writing the letter? Ram is writing the letter, right? But in this case, the subject of this statement is a letter. Is this doing the action? No. Our answer is no. If your answer is no, it is passive voice. Okay. So, this is how you distinguish. Alright. Okay. And keep practicing, students. Thank you.